Hello and welcome back to my art studio. Today I wanted to go through a little bit of my packaging process that I do for Etsy. I wanted to show you how I package a few different types of items that I sell in my Etsy shop. Most of them are small parcels, but I also sell prints and I also sell magnets. So I'm going to film a little bit of the process of how I package each item and what I do to brand it and how I give it a personal touch, because that's what Etsy's all about. Every seller is unique and you really want to show that through your packaging, because I swear packaging is like 50% of the job. You think it's all fun making crafts and art and stuff, but no, there's a lot of extra thought that you have to put into it to make sure it arrives to your customer safely and make sure it represents the value of your brand. So I feel like every single order I do, I'm always changing my packaging a little bit. So my packaging style is very DIY. I pretty much make everything myself. I make the stamp to put on it. I make the boxes myself. I'm gonna go through all of that pretty quickly. I feel like I put a lot of extra time into my packaging, maybe more than other people do, but that's only because I don't get that crazy amount of orders. It's really manageable, so I love putting the extra time that I have to really develop how I package items. So one thing that I feel like really defines my packaging is the boxes that I use. I don't buy boxes from Amazon, which I may do in the future, but I have tons of old watercolors. I love doing really impressionistic watercolor paintings, and I have no use for these, so I like to cut them up and turn them into my own boxes. This means that they're not perfect, they're not like factory made. They do tend to be a little bit messy, but since these are just like considered to be disposable boxes that I'm just using to make sure the product gets to the customer safely, I'm not overly concerned on if there is a crooked edge or you can see a little bit of the hot glue. But let's just get straight into it with how I make some of my boxes. So for my watercolors, I usually work on 8.5 by 11 watercolor paper. I usually look for a paper that has a good thickness, and I love a cold press watercolor paper that has good texture on it because I am very simple with my design. How I usually work is I put a wash of water on the page, and I like to work wet on wet, so my brush is also very saturated, and I just pick a couple nice colors that I think will complement each other, and I just kind of go crazy with just random shapes and see what kind of cool effects that I can make. I don't usually work on a piece like this for more than 5 minutes, but I think it turns out really nice. I just let it dry in the sun and the texture from the paper really shows, and the more wet it is, the more concentrated you can keep your watercolor, and then it will dry super dark and super pigmented. So I like to experiment in a lot of different ways when I do this. I just love the opportunity to pull out my watercolors and just get creative without any pressure of it having to be super nice. So my next step is I have all these different templates for all these different types of boxes that I want to make. I just measure the item that I want to make a box for and try to keep a tightest fit possible, because I don't want any of my products to be like shaking around while it's going through the shipping process. My favorite ones to do recently, which are a little bit trickier, is 2-piece boxes, one with a lid and a bottom, but a much simpler design is just doing a flap for the lid, which also works pretty well, which uses a little bit less paper, so is kind of better for larger items. Then I fold all the edges and hot glue them together, and then usually add some felt to the bottom of the box as well. So making boxes this way doesn't actually save me very much money. It definitely adds a lot of time to the process of sending out orders, but I genuinely really enjoy making them, and I really want to get better at making them. I don't know how crazy I can get with just designing a box, but I do want to get a little bit more creative. I've always been into origami back in the day, so I guess it's coming out a little bit here. I also wanted to make a little linocut of this teardrop symbol because I wanted to have consistent branding on everything, and if I just wanted to put a little stamp on something, I could. So I used the stamp to put on letters and packaging paper and boxes and envelopes. I even use it on little canvas bags that I include in orders of really small things like pins or smaller magnets. try out a little test print here to see if I need to edit the stamp anymore, and after just a little bit more trimming, I decided to try it with some actual block printing ink to see which colors looked good and showed up nicely on the envelopes, my favorite being a very light, simple crystal blue. I even tried to mix a few colors, and this was with acrylic ink, and I think that actually turned out pretty good. So I'm definitely not limited to just using block printing ink for this part. As long as it gives a nice clear opaque shape, I'm pretty happy with it. So with each order, I love to write a personal letter that's just like thanking the shopper for buying with me and prompting them to leave a review, because a lot of people just forget that, and I feel like it's not the worst thing just to give a little nudge of reminder. But for each order, I like to send out a postcard, so I print off all of these postcards and then just cut them out myself, and then I write something nice on the back. I also have these ones, which is just like the crystal teardrop thing, which is basically my logo. I don't really like to think of it as a logo, but it's like my symbol. And I also have these ones, that's just a little bit of photography of resin. And I also have these citrus ones. When I sell prints, it's really important that they don't get bent in the mail, and make sure that they're really secure, because sometimes you're sending this like across the world, or like who knows what it's going to go through. So you just have to be really careful. I've had success in every print order that I've done. I always get good feedback that it came in good condition and everybody's happy with it, so I'm so pleased with that. Right now I use illustration board to back the illustrations. So this is a pretty sturdy board, so I just cut it to the perfect size, and then I put that inside of a plastic sheet, just a little bit extra protection. And I also have a range of sizes for these little plastic sheets as well. And I also printed off these do not bend stickers. I did order a stamp that says do not bend that I think I'll prefer to use, but it hasn't come. It's been a few months that I've ordered it and it has not come. So patiently waiting for that. Might make one myself in the meantime. And also to make my boxes, I have all these like little templates that I just trace onto the watercolors or whatever paper I'm cutting from. So I have the exact dimensions. Like this one says coaster on it, so I use Canada Post to ship all my items, and they do have a minimum size for parcels. I believe it's 10 centimeters by 7 centimeters or something. So if they're giving me the extra room to package super fun and nice stuff, like I'll take it. I will not complain. It's not going to become cheaper, so I just settle for that. So next I'm going to show you how I packaged this order. Someone ordered a 8x10 print along with a hand magnet. So I'm going to make a little box for the magnet, and I'm going to show you how I keep this print from bending and how I keep it in the best shape possible for when I send it in the mail. So after adding felt to the bottom of the box, I'm excited to use my new little stamp, and then I stamp the envelope as well as the box with the exact same color, keeping it really conducive and looking nice. And then I always have these random little decorative pieces that I'm not really sure where I collect them from, but they're cute and they add something special. So next, I put the print in a 12x10 plastic sheet, and then I use a little bit of washi tape to fold over the edge and make sure it's really tight so it's not sliding around when I send it off. Sorry if you guys can hear that. It started to rain kind of loudly, and I'm in my van, so the rain hits the roof really hard, but hopefully I can get it out while editing, or we can just like sit here and enjoy it. Isn't it kind of peaceful at least? And here I'm making some buttons with my button press just to include as some freebies in some orders, because I always love sending off buttons. I think they're really cute. They're not the best quality or anything, but I think it is a nice little gesture. So here I'm packaging up a resin crystal. This is one of the things I sell the most of. So I have a million of these boxes already made. And the size of this box is actually the smallest size that you can make to get parcel with tracking through Canada Post. It's a little bit bigger than what I need, so I use craft paper to fill up all the excess space so it's not loose inside the box. But making a package any smaller than this doesn't make it any cheaper anyways, so this is the most economical I can package it. Now, if I'm sending this within Canada, there is quite a range depending on where in Canada I'm sending it. If I'm sending it to Vancouver, it would probably be about $17, and if I'm sending it to anywhere as close as Toronto, it would probably be $11 or so dollars, and then completely different numbers if it's to the United States or anywhere else international. And the final thing that I want to package for you is this little cup that I sell in my Etsy shop. As you can see, each thing that I packaged in this video all had a slightly different method. This is just because I'm learning as I go. As long as the quality is consistent, then I'm happy. To keep it really interesting for me, I love switching up all the different design elements and see how the customer reacts. It's kind of my favorite part, to get any feedback, so anything that encourages that is awesome. And one final little shake test to make sure nothing is moving around. Admire my packaging a little bit more because it is one of a kind, and I kind of get nostalgic whenever I send anything away, but I love tying a little bow with string too. That is like a hugely important part that I think makes it a really complete package. It's like an actual gift when it has a bow. By the way, I'm going to be making a list for the description of this video of all the products that I buy on Amazon that help me with my Etsy business. As you can see, a lot of it I just make myself, but there's a lot of really useful stuff like these bubble mailers. So if you're curious about any of that, it'll all be down below. Now the last couple steps are just to tape it up real tight, make sure it's real secure, add the shipping label, and we're done. So thanks for watching. I can't wait to make an update to my packaging video soon because it's constantly changing, and have a good one. See ya.